Alien mother sold herself to feed her child, but the human who bought her chose love instead. The trade station Karen Ring never slept. Lights stayed bright at every hour, shining on metal floors and glass walls. Ships came and went like slow-moving stars. Voices from 100 species mixed together, sharp clicks, soft hums, flowing tones, and harsh mechanical sounds. To the station, life was business, and business never stopped. To Salith, it was a place where hope slowly died. She stood near the lower commerce ring, holding her child close to her chest. Her arms trembled, not from fear, but from exhaustion. She had not eaten properly in 3 cycles. Her body was thin now, her skin dull where it once glowed faintly with color. Her child, Irin, was too quiet. That scared her more than hunger. Irin's small body was warm but weak. His breathing was shallow, his eyes only half open. Salith adjusted the thin fabric around him, trying to keep him warm. She whispered soft sounds in her native language, old comfort words her own mother had once used. It was not enough. Around them, screens flashed prices, contracts, and offers. Food credits, medical credits, transport credits, everything had a cost. Salith had nothing left to sell. She had already traded her tools, then her keepsakes. Then the small crystal necklace passed down through her family for generations. Each sale bought a little time. Each sale brought Irin back from the edge for a while. Now time was gone. Salith's eyes moved to a large display panel glowing blue. Legal servitude contracts, immediate payment. She had walked past it many times before. Every time her steps slowed. Every time she told herself she would find another way. There was no other way. Her species was not valued in most labor markets. They were considered slow learners, emotionally driven, inefficient. Employers wanted machines or species that worked without complaint, but servitude contracts were different. They did not care who you were, only what you could give. Salith stepped closer. The terminal activated, sensing her presence. Species identification required, the neutral station voice said. Salith swallowed and placed her hand against the scanner. Light passed over her skin. Species confirmed, the voice said. Applicant eligible, contract duration options available. Numbers appeared, 5 cycles, 10 cycles, 20 cycles. The longer the contract, the higher the payment. Salith did not look at the longest option. She could not think that far ahead. All she could see was Irin's face. She selected 10 cycles. The payment offer appeared instantly. It was enough for food supplements, enough for medical treatment, enough to save her child. Her hands shook. The system did not ask why. It did not ask if she was sure. It only asked for confirmation. Salith pressed her thumb against the screen. Contract submitted to open market, the voice said. Awaiting buyer. Just like that, her life was listed for sale. She sank down onto a bench near the terminal, holding Irin tighter. The station noise faded into a dull background hum. Her mind felt empty and heavy at the same time. She had done it. She had crossed the line she swore she never would, but Irin would live. That was all that mattered. Minutes passed. Buyers viewed contracts quickly. The station was full of corporations, private individuals, and labor brokers always looking for cheap legal labor. Salith felt the terminal chime. Contract matched, the voice said. Buyer approaching? Her chest tightened. She stood slowly, turning to face whoever had purchased her. The human looked ordinary. That was Salith's first thought. He was taller than her, but not intimidating. His clothing was simple, dark fabric worn at the edges. No corporate markings, no symbols of authority. His hair was dark, his face tired, his eyes focused but calm. He stopped a few steps away, looking not at her first, but at the child in her arms. His expression changed. Salith had seen many looks from other species. Disinterest. Calculation, mild curiosity. This was different. Concern. You're the contract holder? He asked gently, his voice low and clear. Salith nodded. Her throat felt tight. Yes. The terminal confirmed the transfer. Ownership assigned, contract active. The word ownership made her grip Irin harder. The human frowned slightly. I'm Evan Hale, he said. Logistics Department, independent sector. She did not know what to say. Names had not mattered in the contract. I am Salith, she replied quietly. Evan glanced at the terminal, then back at her. The payment has already transferred. You should be able to access food and medical services immediately. She nodded again. Thank you. That was what one said to a buyer. Evan hesitated. Then he asked something no one had ever asked her before. Where is your child staying? Salith blinked. He is with me. I mean, Evan said carefully, where will he be staying now? Her mind struggled to understand the question. He will stay where I stay, if allowed. The contract did not mention dependents. Usually children were taken to public care facilities or sold under separate terms. Evan's jaw tightened. That won't work, he said. Fear rushed through her. Please, she said quickly. He is no trouble, he only needs food and rest. I will work harder, I will not fail. Evan raised his hand slightly, not to stop her, but to calm her. That's not what I meant, he said. He shouldn't be living in worker quarters at all. She stared at him. He looked back at the terminal, scrolling through details, his expression growing more serious. This contract never should have been approved with a dependent involved, he muttered. Salith's heart pounded. If this is a problem, I can. No, Evan said firmly. You don't need to do anything. He looked at her again, really looked at her thin frame, the way she leaned slightly to protect her child, the fear she tried to hide. How old is he? Evan asked. 4 cycles, she replied. Evan exhaled slowly. That explains the medical alerts. He tapped the terminal, opening another menu. His personal credit balance flashed briefly. Salith saw the number change, drop. What are you doing? She asked softly. Fixing a problem, Evan said. The terminal chimed again. Medical services authorized, the station voice announced. Dependent care approved, nutritional support assigned. Salith's eyes widened. That was not part of the contract, she said. I know, Evan replied. Why? Her voice shook. You already paid. You owe us nothing else. Evan paused, his hand still resting on the terminal. On my world, he said, buying someone doesn't make them less human. She did not understand the word fully, but she understood the meaning. Tears welled in her eyes before she could stop them. I don't want you to be afraid of me, Evan continued. I don't want your child to grow up thinking this is normal. The station bustled around them, uncaring. Salith felt something crack open inside her, something she had sealed away long ago. I agreed to serve, she said. I will honor the contract. I believe you, Evan said, but service doesn't mean suffering, he straightened. First, we get your son to medical care, then food, then we talk about next steps. Next steps, she echoed. Evan gave a small, tired smile. One step at a time. As they walked toward the medical wing, Salith felt the weight of the station press down on her, yet somehow it felt lighter than before. She did not know what kind of human Evan Hale was. She only knew this. She had sold herself to save her child. And the human who bought her had seen them both. The medical wing of Chiron Ring was quiet compared to the trade floors. The air was clean and warm. Soft lights glowed along smooth white walls. Machines hummed gently, not loudly, as if they were careful not to disturb anyone resting inside. The smell of antiseptic mixed with something faintly sweet, meant to calm patients from many species. Salith walked slowly beside Evan, holding Irin close. Every step felt unreal. She kept waiting for someone to stop them, to say there had been a mistake, that the extra care was an error and would be taken back. But no one did. A medical unit scanned Irin as soon as they arrived. Lights passed over his small body. Data flowed across a clear screen. Salith stood frozen, afraid to blink. Malnutrition detected, the machine said calmly. Dehydration present, conditions stable but declining. Salith's heart tightened. Evan stood beside her, arms crossed, jaw set. What does he need? He asked. Immediate nutrition support, the unit replied. Rest, monitoring for 2 cycles. Do it, Evan said without hesitation. A medical bed adjusted itself, forming a soft cradle. Salith carefully laid Irin down. For a moment she hesitated, afraid to let go. It's all right, Evan said quietly. I'm here. She stepped back slowly. The bed wrapped Irin in warmth. Tubes formed gently, delivering nutrients without pain. His breathing became steadier within minutes. Salith felt her knees weaken. She sat down hard in a nearby chair, covering her face with her hands. Her shoulders shook, silent and tight. She did not cry loudly. She did not know how anymore. Evan remained standing, giving her space. After a while, she lowered her hands. Her eyes were red but clearer. He will live, she said, more statement than question. Yes, Evan replied, he will. She nodded, then looked down at her hands. They were thin, marked with small scars from years of work. I am still your property, she said softly. Evan frowned. You are under contract, he corrected. There's a difference. She looked at him, confused. The station does not see a difference. I do. That answer unsettled her more than cruelty would have. Cruelty was expected. It followed rules. It made sense. Kindness did not. They stayed in the medical wing for hours. Irin slept peacefully, his color slowly returning. Salith watched every small movement, afraid to look away. Evan spoke occasionally with medical staff, signing authorizations, adjusting schedules. Each time he accessed his credit balance, it dropped further. Salith noticed. "You are losing much because of us," she said. Evan shrugged slightly. "Credits come back, people don't." That answer stayed with her. Later, Evan led her to a nearby nutrition station. Real food, not ration paste, was prepared for her. Warm, fragrant, balanced for her species. She hesitated before eating. "It's allowed," Evan said. "I added it to your work health requirements." She took a small bite. Her body reacted instantly. Warmth spread through her chest. Strength, faint but real, returned to her limbs. She had forgotten what real food felt like. Tears filled her eyes again. "I do not understand humans," she said quietly. Evan gave a tired smile. "Most of us don't understand ourselves either." They moved to temporary housing near the medical wing. Not worker quarters, not luxury, something in between clean, safe, quiet. There were 2 rooms, one for Erin, one for her. Salith stood at the doorway, unsure if she should enter. "This is for you," Evan said. "Both of you." She stepped inside slowly. The room was simple but comfortable. A soft bed, a small table, a window showing the curve of the station and distant stars. Stars. She had not looked at stars in a long time. Evan activated the room systems, then paused. "I'll be back tomorrow, rest." "You are leaving?" she asked, surprised. "Yes," he said. "You need sleep. I don't want you to feel watched." That word again, feel. After he left, Salith sat on the bed, listening to the quiet hum of the station. Erin slept in the next room, monitored by medical systems. For the first time in many cycles, she felt safe, and that frightened her. The next cycle, Evan returned early. He brought supplies, clothing suited for her species, learning tablets for Erin, medical updates printed in simple form. Salith stood when he entered. "You do not need to do that," he said gently. She hesitated, then sat back down. They reviewed the contract together. Evan explained each part slowly, clearly. "You are assigned to assist in logistics coordination," he said. "Mostly data review, inventory checks, communication, routing." She blinked. "That is not physical labor." "No," Evan agreed. "Your species has good pattern recognition. You notice details others miss." No one had ever said that to her before. "What if I fail?" she asked. "Then we train," Evan said. "Failure isn't a crime." She studied his face, searching for deception. There was none. Over the following cycles, Salith began work. She learned human systems quickly, faster than Evan expected. She noticed errors in shipping routes. Small inefficiencies others ignored. When she pointed them out, productivity improved. Other humans took notice. They treated her as a coworker, not a possession. They asked her opinion. They thanked her. Each thank you felt strange. Words spread quietly, not loudly. Humans did not announce kindness. They practiced it. Salith began to see patterns beyond data. Humans shared food. Humans covered shifts for one another. Humans argued, but still worked together afterward. They were inefficient, but they endured. Other species on the station watched from a distance. Some were curious, some suspicious, some uncomfortable. The station economy noticed something else. Human departments had lower profit margins, but fewer breakdowns, fewer errors, fewer disappearances. Salith heard whispers. "Humans are bad for business. Humans make workers soft. Humans change expectations." One cycle, a station overseer requested a review. Evan was called in. So was Salith. They sat across from a polished table, facing a being of sharp angles and glowing eyes. "Your contract shows irregularities," the overseer said. Evan nodded. "Yes. Excessive resource expenditure," it continued. "Unnecessary dependent support." "Yes," Evan repeated. "Why?" Evan answered calmly. "Because it was right." The overseer tilted its head. "Right is not a measurable unit." "Maybe that's the problem," Evan said. Silence followed. Salith held her breath. Finally, the overseer spoke. "Your actions are legal but inefficient." Evan smiled faintly. "Humans hear that a lot." The review ended without punishment. But attention remained. That night, Salith sat beside Erin's bed, watching him sleep. He was stronger now. He laughed more. He asked questions about everything. "Why are humans strange?" he asked suddenly. She smiled softly. "Because they choose to be." She realized something then. She was no longer counting cycles until the contract ended. She was counting moments. And somewhere deep inside, a dangerous thought formed. What if this kindness was not temporary? What if humanity's strength was not power, but refusal? The station lights dimmed for night cycle. Far away, systems adjusted. And unseen eyes began to watch humans more closely. change did not arrive loudly on Karen Ring. It never did. It arrived quietly, like a slow shift in gravity that no one noticed until walking became different. Salith felt it first in small ways. People looked at her longer now, not with hunger or ownership, but with curiosity. Some aliens whispered when she passed. Others watched the human work sector with narrowed eyes, trying to understand what they were seeing. Humans were still working. Humans were still trading, but something about them was wrong, or maybe different. Salith sat at her station, reviewing supply routes. Screens floated in the air, lines of data moving slowly. Irin sat nearby with a learning tablet, his legs swinging happily as he practiced letters in both his language and human script. He was laughing. That sound still surprised her. "You missed a gap," Salith said softly, pointing to a route marker. Evan leaned closer, following her finger. "You're right, that would have caused a delay in 3 cycles." He corrected the route. "Good catch," he added. She nodded, a small glow of pride warming her chest. Across the room, another human glanced over and smiled at her before returning to work. That small action meant more than any reward system the station had ever offered. She belonged here, and that scared others. Reports began to circulate, not official ones at first. Quiet data packets shared between corporate offices and station management. Human labor units show reduced output. Human departments request increased welfare resources. Human workers refuse certain contract optimizations. The final line appeared again and again. Humans interfere with standard economic suffering models. The phrase made Salith shiver when she read it. Suffering models. She knew those models well. She had lived inside them her entire life. Now humans were breaking them. One cycle, a transport overseer approached Evan's department. It was tall, thin, and metallic, with a voice that sounded like polished stone sliding over glass. "We have received complaints," it said. Evan looked up calmly. "About what?" "Your workers," the overseer replied. "They are refusing extended shift cycles." "They're exhausted," Evan said. "Exhaustion is an acceptable cost," the overseer replied. "Replacement labor is cheaper than recovery," Evan stood. "That may be true," he said, "but it's not how we work." The overseer paused. "Your way of working reduces profit." "Yes," Evan agreed, "but it also reduces failure." Silence stretched. Salith watched from her station, heart tight. She had seen these conversations before. They usually ended badly for people like her, but the overseer did not threaten. It only observed. "Your species is inconsistent," it said finally. Evan smiled faintly. "We prefer the word flexible." The overseer left, but it did not forget. Soon after, Salith noticed something else. More aliens began asking questions, not about humans, about choice. A maintenance worker from another species asked quietly, "Do humans really let you leave?" "Yes," Salith replied. "Why did you stay?" Salith thought carefully before answering. "Because they did not make me feel small." The worker stared at her shaken. Others asked about Irin. About education, about food quality, about rest cycles. Each question was a crack in the station's old foundation. Irin grew stronger every cycle. He ran now. He laughed loudly. He asked endless questions about stars and ships and humans. "Why did the human help us?" he asked one night. Salith tucked him into bed, smoothing the fabric around him. "Because he could." "That's a strange reason," Irin said sleepily. "Yes," she agreed, "but a good one." When Irin slept, Salith often sat alone by the window, watching ships move like slow fireflies against the dark. She thought about the contract. It still existed. It had not changed, yet everything else had. The attention finally became official. A Station Ethics and Efficiency Council announced a formal review of human practices. Evan was not surprised. "They were always going to look closer," he told Salith as they walked to the council chamber. "Are we in danger?" she asked quietly. "No," he said. "But we might make people uncomfortable," she smiled weakly. "We already do." The chamber was large and cold. Representatives from many species filled the curved seats. Data screens hovered above them, displaying charts and numbers. Salith felt small. Evan stood straight. "The council has concerns," one representative said. "Human behavior is spreading." "Yes," Evan replied. "Laborers are requesting improved conditions," another said. "Productivity models are destabilizing." "Yes," Evan said again. "You are altering station norms," a third voice said. "Without authority." Evan folded his hands. "We're following station law." "Law is not intention," the council replied. Evan nodded. "Then let me be clear about our intention," The room quieted. "We believe people work better when they are treated like people," Evan said. "We believe fear is an unstable foundation, and we believe that profit gained through suffering costs more in the long run." Some representatives shifted uncomfortably. "That belief is inefficient," one said. Evan smiled. "So was written language once." Salith held her breath. The council dismissed them without judgment, but the message was clear. Humans were being watched. After the hearing, Salith found Evan alone in the corridor. "You could lose everything," she said. "Maybe," he replied. "Why keep going?" she asked. "Why risk it?" Evan looked at her, then past her toward the busy station beyond. "Because once you see suffering clearly," he said, "you can't unsee it. And once you know you can help, doing nothing becomes a choice." She felt something shift inside her again. She had always believed survival required obedience. Humans believed survival could include kindness. That belief was dangerous. Later that cycle, Salith received a message, not from Evan, from the contract system. "Notice, servitude contract under review." Her heart raced. She rushed to Evan. "They are looking at the contract," she said. "They might cancel it or worse." Evan read the notice carefully. Then he smiled. "That means they're scared," he said. "Scared of what?" "Of losing control without force," he replied. Salith looked around the station, the lights, the people, the quiet movement of life. She thought of Irin's laughter. She thought of humans sharing food without reason. She thought of a galaxy built on rules that assumed cruelty was natural. And she understood. Humans were not powerful because they conquered. They were powerful because they refused. Outside the viewport, a large council vessel arrived, docking slowly. Change was coming, not with weapons, not with violence, but with questions the galaxy had never wanted to answer. The notice spread through Karen Ring faster than any rumor, not because it was loud, but because it was official. Servitude contract review, priority status. Salith saw it on her terminal early in the cycle. The words glowed softly, calm and polite, as if they were not threatening her entire future. Her hands went cold. For a long moment, she simply stared at the screen. She had lived under contracts her entire adult life. She knew what reviews meant. They rarely ended in favor of the one being reviewed. Usually they ended in correction or punishment. She closed the terminal and looked toward the small sleeping area where Irin still rested. He was curled under a blanket, breathing deeply, a faint smile on his face as if dreaming of something happy. She felt fear twist in her chest, not for herself, for him. Evan was already awake when she reached the human work sector. He stood near a window, reading incoming reports, his expression tight but calm. "They sent the notice," Salith said. He nodded. "I expected that." "They could cancel the contract," she said. "They could move me. Or separate Irin from me." "They won't," Evan replied. "You cannot be sure." Evan turned to face her. "I'm not sure, but I know what the law says." She folded her arms, hugging herself. "Law has never protected people like me." "That's true," Evan said softly. "Which is why we're going to use it differently." He showed her a data file, old, dusty regulations written long before Karen Ring had grown so large. "Humans helped write these clauses," he explained. "Back when we joined the station network." Salith scanned the text. It was dense and slow to read. "What does it mean?" she asked. "It means contracts can be altered," Evan said, "if both parties agree and no harm is caused." Her heart skipped. "Altered how?" Evan met her eyes. "To end them." Silence fell between them. Salith's breath caught. "You would give up the contract?" she asked. "Yes, you paid for it." "Yes, you could lose your position." "Yes," she shook her head slowly. "Why?" Evan answered without hesitation. "Because you're not something I own, and because Irin deserves to grow up free." Something inside Salith broke open completely. "But if the contract ends," she said, voice shaking, "we lose protection, we lose housing, we lose resources." Evan smiled gently. "Only if you choose to leave." She frowned. "What do you mean?" "I'm offering you employment," he said. "Not ownership, with pay, with rights." Her mind struggled to keep up. Choice, real choice. The word felt dangerous. The council summoned them before they could finalize anything. The chamber was fuller this time, more observers. More recorders, more eyes. Salith felt them all on her. She stood beside Evan, her posture straight despite the fear burning inside her. "The contract under review shows abnormal behavior," a council member stated. "Excessive care, reduced exploitation." Salith flinched at the word. "Exploitation is standard," another said. "Your actions create imbalance." Evan nodded calmly. "Yes, we are imbalanced toward dignity." A low murmur spread through the chamber. The council turned its attention to Salith. "Contract holder," one voice said. "Do you wish the contract to continue?" Her heart pounded. This was the moment. For her entire life, decisions had been made about her, never by her. She thought of Erin's laughter, of full meals, of humans thanking her for her work, of sleeping without fear. She lifted her head. "No," she said clearly, "I do not." The chamber went silent. "You reject the contract?" the council asked. "Yes, that choice removes guaranteed support." "I know, you risk instability." "I know." "Why?" the council demanded. Salith took a deep breath. "Because being owned kept me alive," she said, "but being trusted taught me how to live." The words echoed. Some representatives looked away, others leaned forward. Evan felt something tighten in his chest. The council turned to him. "Do you agree to contract termination?" "Yes," Evan said. "Immediately." The legal systems activated. Lines of text streamed across the air. Contract terminated, mutual consent. Salith felt a strange lightness in her body. She was free. The council did not end the session. Instead, it changed direction. "You have set a precedent," one voice said. "Others will follow." "Yes," Evan replied. "Labor markets may shift." "Yes," suffering metrics may decrease. "Yes," the council paused. "That is concerning," it said. Evan smiled. "It should be." The hearing ended without punishment, but the consequences had already begun. Words spread fast this time, not whispers, statements. A former servant declined renewal. A labor group demanded rest cycles. A caretaker asked for pay instead of charity. Humans did not lead these movements loudly. They simply stood beside those who chose, and that was enough. Salith signed her first employment agreement that cycle. Her name stood alone on the document, not listed as property, not attached to another, just her. She cried when she pressed her thumb to confirm. That evening she sat with Erin, telling him the truth. "You are not owned anymore?" he asked. "No," she said, smiling through tears. "Are we safe?" "Yes." "Did the human save us?" She shook her head gently. "He helped us." "But we chose." Erin thought about that, then smiled. "I like choosing." So did she. Across the station, systems adjusted. Profit dropped slightly, stability increased, productivity slowly recovered, but something else changed too: hope. And that was the most dangerous thing of all, because hope spreads faster than fear, and the galaxy was beginning to notice.